Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us this morning. We're going to give it about one more minute before we get started. And in the meantime, just to give you a heads up, I'm going to try to keep this as close to 30 minutes as possible. So well, give me about 1 minute and we'll get started. All right. Well, thank you again for joining us. I appreciate the fact that the Ohio Trucking Association has put together these special webinar series, and I appreciate the opportunity to share DriverReach with you. So, quick background on me. Jeremy Reymer. I'm the president and CEO of Driving Ambition, a CDL driver staffing company for the past 15 years, been an active member of the Ohio Trucking Association. And also, of course, the CEO and founder of DriverReach, which is a startup company. Driving Ambition, what we do is hire CDL drivers every day as a staffing company, and I've always embraced the concept of efficiency through technology. And we recognized a couple of years ago that we needed an online DOT application and an applicant tracking system to help us process drivers more efficiently. And we had tried some older, more expensive products and felt like there was a lot of room for improvement. So after a couple of years of programming and developing, I launched DriverReach, a new driver applicant tracking system that improves the entire process around recruiting and qualifying drivers so you can hire better, faster. Today, I'm going to show you an overview of how DriverReach works. So to maximize our time this morning, I wanted to keep this webinar, as I said, to about 30 minutes. So I pre-recorded the demo portion. And you'll also be able to submit any questions throughout the webinar through the control panel on your screen, and then we'll answer those at the very end. So let's dive. Everybody with me? Everybody hear me? Okay. So DriverReach consists of 3 primary features. You got a mobile-friendly DOT application, applicant tracking system, and CRM functionality. We operate in a mobile world. I think we all know that drivers epitomize the concept of mobile. They're mobile all the time. And just about every single one of them has a smartphone today. A mobile-friendly DOT application includes all the necessary fields, the releases, signatures, all the things that you need to be able to start processing a DOT application right away. For those of you who are listening, how easy is it for a driver to complete an application from your website, from a smartphone? One of the advantages that DriverReach has having a mobile optimized DOT application is it's super, super easy. It's important because a lot of times I'll talk to companies and they'll be frustrated with the fact that they're not getting enough leads, they're not getting enough applicants, and they want to spend more money on more leads, but they're throwing good money after bad because the real problem is the fact that drivers cannot easily apply on their website from a mobile device. I also mentioned the applicant tracking system. All of the applications you receive will feed directly into your DriverReach account.
Let's take a look at the actual interface. For time's sake, I've already created a dummy account. To create an account, you just have to answer a handful of questions, then you're given your own unique, mobile-friendly DOT application link that you can use on your website and any other places you advertise for drivers. From this main home page, you can view all the applications you've received. I've populated this account with a handful of fictitious drivers for purposes of this demo. As you can see, there are two tabs, Applications and Leads. The Leads tab is populated when drivers complete a short form that DriverReach also makes available. We're also working with many job boards, so those forms can feed directly into your DriverReach account. Ultimately, the goal is to get them to complete a DOT application so you can begin the qualification process. In the meantime, you can communicate with them via phone, email, or text, all using DriverReach to record those communications. I'll explain a little bit more about that later. This is a data table. You're able to sort this data table by any column, and you have the ability to filter by a variety of fields and types. I'm currently showing drivers who are active prospects. From within one system, you can perform all the necessary qualification steps, all the background checks, PSP, CIDLIS, MVR, criminal, and previous employment verifications on every driver you'd like to proceed with. Let's take a look at driver Zach Tolway. As you can see, we've got Zach's contact information and his workflow progress. You can see how many days in process. You also see Zach is a prospect. And at any point along the way, we have the ability to disqualify, to mark as no current interest, or hire. You can also see Zach's entire DOT application. It's currently shrunk, but you can also view expanded to see all the components together. And you can also see any pending tasks you may have for Zach, as well as any communications that you've had with him throughout the process. In this case, there aren't any, since he's newly created for this demo. Let's review Zach's DOT application. As we all know, drivers make mistakes on their app from time to time. You have the ability to edit a driver's DOT application if necessary. If you do make any edits, you'll be prompted to return it to Zach for approval. Let's say you spoke to Zach and asked about the accident he had in a commercial motor vehicle in October 2016. He tells you that was an error. It was actually 2015. You can simply edit that field and then send off to Zach to approve. From a workflow perspective, once Zach has signed off on the change and you feel comfortable with the quality of the information provided, you can mark the application as complete in the workflow. Now, there's no particular order to the workflow. Some areas may be completed before others, but all of these are necessary to ensure compliance when hiring a driver and building the driver qualification file. Let's take a look at the verifications. Zach shows 10 different jobs to verify. We all know the verifications of employment, or VOE, process can be the biggest frustration in terms of time and energy. Time is of the essence. Speed to hire is critical. One key feature with DriverReach that's a huge help is the fact that as soon as a driver submits a DOT application, the VOEs are automatically sent out immediately. Companies are incentivized to respond electronically. Not only does that help you get the response sooner, that data will be stored electronically in an ever-growing database of previous employment history. If that data has already been collected, we allow companies the option to either purchase that record for $5 or to send a VOE request manually. The goal here is to create significant time savings. We're seeing customers today cutting down their time to hire from over 10 days to less than 3 or 4. I mentioned that we incentivize companies to report electronically. We offer a $5 credit for each previous employment record they create, plus an additional credit each time a record is purchased. This was something that has been a huge differentiator with DriverReach and has helped us grow tremendously since we rolled out this feature earlier this year. Companies are contributing records, earning credits, and even using those credits to offset the cost of the applicant tracking system. Looking at Zach's list of verifications, you can see the status of each of them. Some records are available for purchase. Those are because the record previously existed and is available for you immediately. You can also see VOEs that have recently been verified from your request. I mentioned that VOEs are sent automatically. There are, however, a few instances where they would not be sent. If the employment record is marked as do not contact, if there is no contact information provided for the previous employer, if the previous employer has provided specific alternative instructions for all employment requests, or if that record already exists in the database and is therefore available for purchase. Again, in those cases, you can also select to send the VOE manually if you don't want to purchase the existing record. Let's take a look at the background check functionality in workflow. As you can see, there's a variety of reports you can order. Most are returned immediately and are automatically stored in the driver's record for you to view. Since Zach is a fictitious driver, we can't run any of these reports on him. However, you can see how easy it is to do. DriverReach is currently integrated with Assurant and is in the process of integrating with HireRight for all background verifications. Let's take a look at the onboarding and orientation process in workflow. From this step, you're able to indicate the date for orientation to begin, as well as upload a variety of documents, including a copy of the driver's CDL, DOT physical, drug screen results, any payroll or orientation documents, and so on. We deliberately left this open so companies could customize it for their own onboarding process. Assuming you have completed your qualification process, you have the option to use DriverReach as your ongoing DQ file compliance program. You and/or the drivers can be notified automatically when certain expiration dates are approaching. Driver's CDL, DOT physical, TWIC card, etc. You're also notified when an annual review is due. All of this can be managed and stored in DriverReach. Earlier, I mentioned there are three primary features. The first being the mobile optimized DOT application. The second being the applicant tracking system. Let's take a look at the third, CRM functionality. Now, for purposes of this demo, let's assume we're trying to reach out to Zach to ask a few more questions before we can bring him in for orientation. From DriverReach, I can send Zach an email letting him know I still need more information, or I can send him a text message. In both cases, those records are documented and stored in communications for future reference. I can also create a task to make sure he responded. I don't want Zach to slip through the cracks. Open tasks will show up on my home screen, so they stay in front of me. I can also see them from Zach's record. Let's assume that Zach doesn't return my calls, emails, or texts. At some point, I realize I've lost him, at least for now. This is something we're probably all too familiar with. For every 10 applications you receive, you're probably only able to hire 1 or 2 of them. Another 2 or 3 end up being disqualified, and the remaining 5 or so seem to disappear off the face of the earth. As bothersome as that may be, it's not the end of the world. With DriverReach, you can still communicate with those drivers as often as you'd like. After all, they obviously were interested in working for you at some point, or they wouldn't have completed your DOT application. Things change. But you can continue to cultivate your growing list of driver applicants. We certainly don't want to ignore them. But for now, let's mark Zach as no current interest. We'll make the reason could not contact, and we won't create a follow-up task in this case. In some cases, however, creating a follow-up task once I change the status of a driver can be beneficial. For example, if I was disqualifying a driver who had a ticket that would fall off in 6 months, I could create a follow-up task for 6 months. Now let's go back to our home screen. I want to take a look at all the drivers who I've marked as no current interest. As you can see, there are just 2 of them. Again, this is just dummy data for purposes of this demo. What I want to show you here is that whether you have 2 or 2,000 drivers in your database, you can send them an email or text all at the same time. In this case, we're going to send them an email and let them know that we have new lanes they may be interested in. You even have the ability to create a variety of customizable email templates. You can personalize each one of them so they are addressed to each individual driver, and each email is stored in the communications of each driver you emailed. This is the simple yet powerful functionality that takes the driver applicant tracking system to a whole nother level. I built it because I didn't feel like there was something as mobile-centric, as practical, and as affordable already on the market.
All right. That concludes the demo portion. And again, just
let's take a look at the actual interface.
Love that. Hang with me here 1 second.
Let's take a look at the actual.
Don't want to watch it all over. We can if you'd like, but I'd hate to subject you to that. Let's see here. Let me play it here to the end. Here we go.
Let's take a look at the.
Here we go. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties. Again, mobile-friendly DOT application, that's critical in a mobile world today. Feeds into an applicant tracking system that gives you all the CRM functionality that you need. Those are the three primary features, and the end goal here is to streamline the entire process using a more current mobile-centric system. This is DriverReach's website. I encourage you to visit and click Start Your Free 30-day company trial today. You could create an account and at least have the ability to kick the tires a little bit. There's no obligation beyond that 30 days. If you do nothing, there's no harm, no foul. I can tell you that during that 30 days, you'll have the opportunity to secure discounted pricing in any of the 3 paid tiers. And here's the pricing page on the website. These are the current non-trial period prices. And they can be found on the pricing page. There's even a freemium plan for smaller fleets that maybe only hire a handful of drivers a month. In those instances, you're just prompted to pay for the DOT applications that you accept. You have the ability to view them first without the driver contact information, of course. And if you accept the app, then you'll just be prompted to pay $20 for each app you accept. Obviously, if you hire more than, say, 10 to 15 drivers a month, it's probably best to get into one of the paid tiers, since there's no limit to the number of applications you receive. That was pretty fast. I appreciate you joining me today, and I'd also like to mention that, as a fairly new startup, we're always seeking customer feedback as we continue to build DriverReach into the best recruiting and qualifying tool available. I'd like to, I'll review some of the questions that we have here, and give me a second while I pull those up, and I'll respond. Okay, one thing I'd like to mention, this is, we have tracking capabilities inside of DriverReach. So say, for example, you are posting ads in Craigslist or Career Builder or Indeed or some of these other places. You can create a separate link, create each of these separate links as its own separate lead source, so you can track those and you can see how many applicants you're getting from each of those. And you can see the ROI that you're getting for each of those different channels. And a question about the credits, the $5 credit that I referenced earlier. I didn't use the term VOE plus. That's what that's sort of the system that we use for previous employment history. And VOE Plus allows you can create termination records, and for each record that you create inside the system, or when you respond to a previous employment request through DriverReach electronically, you'll earn a $5 credit, and the system tracks that, keeps that for you, and applies that to any other expense that you have through DriverReach, whether that's from purchasing other previous employment history records, purchasing DOT applications if you're on a freemium plan, or even applying that credit towards your paid tier. And I think that's it. My contact information is here on the screen, and if there's anything I can do, any questions that you have outside of right now, don't hesitate to send me an email, visit our website, and I hope to work with you soon. Thank you very much.